Taking hyperbole, poetry is on the way. Taking hyperbole, the poetry kettle is whistling, yay. Taking hyperbole, poetry and life and death and discussion. Sometimes hyperbole, sometimes hyperbole, and cake poetry is on the way. And hello. I love that song.
Oh,
I
thank
just
you.
cannot get enough of that song.
Okay, I think everyone around my house might have had enough of it because I'm always posting it at this time, and they're like, "Oh, tough cookies." That's how it is, children.
Well, welcome, Amy. Yay, here we are for another Cake and Hyperbull. This is officially our over year mark.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's a thing, but yes, we've been doing this. Not this exact thing, but some form of live poetry communion.
Yeah, 13 months. Lucky 13. So there you go.
I know. Unless you have a party on Friday the 13th. Never do that. I learned that the hard way. Worst party ever for teenagers. Probably because I got teenagers involved. I mean, I think that was the key element.
They might have been a little overexcited by whatever was in the air. Charged air.
Yeah. Yes, it was too much. The party I regret. Anyways, today we have some interview questions. We're going to be interviewing each other. I have a poem from Lila Bertillon, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but that was sent to me last night. Actually, she sent it to me on Instagram ages ago, and I am really bad about checking my Instagram messages. So last night I was like, "Oh, we're doing this. Let me go check." Oh, and look at that. And we also don't know if Pete is watching right now. I should move over to comments so I can see. But we have a video that Pete sent that I'm going to have to show next time or at another time because it's too big. We can't upload it to this. So, but we do have that, and we thank Pete. Pete is awesome. I did see it. It was awesome.
Yay! Well, I'll look forward to that next chance we get. So,
yeah. Oh, and Flarp.
Oh, yes, I do have a Flarp poem. We decided, this was Angela's brilliant idea, to choose a form every month and each write a poem to it. And so she let me pick this month, and I had found Flarp in the Poet's Glossary by Edward Hirsch. And I was like, oh, this is perfect because there's kind of a lot going on right now. So we'll discuss that when the time comes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's funny that you say this was my idea because I was actually going to say, Amy had this brilliant idea.
I think I showed you the Poet's Glossary. And we were at Costco. I didn't have it with me, but I mentioned it. And I think I showed you a picture of it. And you said, ooh, got to get it. And then you like right then and there went to order it. But now it's out of print or what have you. Texting me, stop it, girl. It was like way out of print, really expensive, but Kindle Unlimited had it, so we have both been enjoying.
I think I got it on my Kindle. I think I ordered it on
Kindle. I think you did.
Yeah,
I think it was on Kindle Unlimited. I mean, you may have gotten a permanent permanent Kindle copy.
Yes, I pay my $10 a month. Yep, there it is.
Yes.
So
it's so good. All the forms, there's like my favorite part when I did my poetry week when Scout Camp was on but short because of COVID. My favorite part was when I just looked up poetry. I didn't mean to. I think I stumbled on it, and he gave all these other poets and writers definitions of poetry. And I was trying to have like a poetry immersion week, so that was absolutely just nectar. So loved it. So much good stuff.
That is awesome. Yeah, since you actually have a paper copy of that, that's what we should do at the end of each show is get that out and we'll just pick one for next, randomly thumb through.
Okay. It's right here. Yes, I can see it with my eyes. Here's what we're talking about. A Poet's Glossary. I'm trying to figure out how to turn it. There we go. I can never get the logistics of being backwards. Okay, A Poet's Glossary, Edward Hirsch. And it's thick and beautiful. She's got it on her phone.
Amazon. That's a nice looking book.
Oh, it's I found it at the Barnes & Noble. Okay, sad story world. 2-minute drive, 10-minute walk from my house, or 15 or 20. I don't know how much, but Barnes & Noble. like right there, and it's
That's
no
heaven.
longer. They closed it and turned it into a discount furniture store. And I drove by it yesterday only because I wanted to look for a Halloween mug at Marshall's, which they didn't have. But the parking lot was jammed. I should have just gone in and wagged my finger at everybody. It's just a bookstore. But
That's so sad.
that is so sad. That is sad. It makes me like stop and step away from this beautiful town and say, what
the
H,
hell,
folks? Yeah.
See, I actually said hell. I'll just
you
go
said
through with
the
it.
H word, girl. We were talking before this. We're both free when we're free with the swears when we're like trying to record something and it's not working out. So, yeah. But here, you know, children, we're sorry. Your precious ears.
Yes, this is poetry though, so you never know what you might hear. So be forewarned.
Yeah, poetry, can't be afraid to say it. Cannot. Yep. We're relying on poetry for that. So
exactly.
Absolutely. Yep.
So what do you want to do to get started? I know we got interview questions that we are going to be randomly picking, which I love this idea. I think we should always do this. I might always keep my interview questions. Well, I guess we don't want to keep asking. Oh, nice. I would use a hat, but
yeah,
I
put them in here yesterday so I wouldn't lose them. And I was like, it rained so much yesterday, but I wasn't going anywhere. And then this morning, because I didn't go to the store yesterday because it was so rainy, I had to go to the store and it was raining again. I'm like, well, my beret is full of questions in the art room. So, so I just had to get my hair wet, kids. It wasn't that bad. Not as bad as yesterday.
There. My beret is full of questions.
Oh my God. I love our work. Oh my God.
All right, I'm writing that down for next week.
Yes,
next month.
Okay,
we will have my beret
incorporate questions. My beret. We'll both do it. We'll both incorporate it into whatever form, or something like that. All right. With
this is how we work, people. There is no rhyme or reason here. There is no plan.
Poetry is sometimes chaotic, and I would say that for me, I was thinking about one of the questions because, of course, we put them in the hat. I chose 5. Angela chose 5. We each sent our 5 to the other, and then we cut all 10. So we're going to be drawing. And there was one of your questions I could not get out of my mind. And I was like, that is such a college question. I did go to college, but I'm way more emotional than intellectual. So I was like, I think about this so that I won't be like caught with my pants down when that
I apologize. I'm probably going to catch my own self with my pants down because I'll probably get asked that because we're going to, some of them will be asked our own questions or like if you pick a question I wrote, then I'm essentially getting asked my own question.
Exactly. So. But you probably thought about it. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I didn't. That would require way too much planning.
Well,
I'm sorry. I mean, I love the fresh and unrehearsed response. We'll go with that.
It's like a folk style. We're just for the people of the people. I don't know.
We're giving you guys the authenticity of the moment.
Oh, nothing if not authentic. This is true. Yes. Why don't we start with our flarps then?
Let's flarp. Which I do have to apologize because I kept calling it Flarp on my Facebook. We're so writing a Flarp. And then I to be a little bit sarcastic and clever, which always means I'm not clever. I said, yes, Flarp. That's not a typo. It's actually Flarp. I figured that out last night. So.
I looked it up because I was like, was it Flarp or Flarp? And I just Googled Flarp and it was this stuff. I'm like, this is still possible. It's this jar of stuff that they used to have at my sister would get it for fun. It's like a slime that you could make fart noises with. So Clyde always called it Flarch because he was little and he was thinking of fart. So I was like, oh, Flarch. So we've got Flarp, Flarp, and Flarch. So we could make 3 poetry forms.
Yes. And in my blog post last night, you will see a jar of Flarp with the noise putty. Because I thought they were the same thing. So nope, had to delete a whole paragraph of very clever information that was wrong.
You had to kill your darlings. I hate killing my darlings, you guys. Whoever said that. I know you all remember who it was. I don't.
I think it's been many. I think Ernest Hemingway and Stephen King get credited the most, but
probably. So. Well,
all right. Well, that's my flarp story.
Right.
So,
would you like to tell us about? Flarp. Oh, you want to hear mine? Okay, so Flarp is where you take it. It incorporates the technology of the day, which I'm always reluctant to do. It took me a long time to adjust to all of these new forms of technology. But this one's fun. You take like a search engine and history, and just it becomes a poem itself. So if you are pressed for time, you can look up and see if the last several things that you Googled or what have you were interesting. Here is my Flarp poem. Canticle, translate, First Christian Church, vacillate, Luke Cave, Minel BT27, standalone bell tree, rubber truck colloquial, Sasquatch outpost, lino cut tools, file, birds of paradise, polystyrene musician, Nick Cave bad seeds jumping. The end. If you Google Nick Cave bad seeds jumping, you might not find anything, but if you have that GIF app or that GIF whatever it is app on your text and you put in bad seed, you'll get a picture of Nick Cave and the bad seeds jumping. Well, I love to send that to my son when he sends me obnoxious texts because he's not a big Nick Cave fan. I am. So sorry, Nick. I assume you're watching. Get. Yeah, exactly.
From somewhere. I just shared Flarp definition, the Wikipedia definition. You know, Wikipedia cannot be wrong. I just shared that in chat. So we all have our Flarp education.
Yes.
And and I'll read mine. I actually took a different approach. Usually because my search engines are not things that I want to share necessarily, because it's like, what does a head look like when it falls from 3 stories? You know, things like that. So
for research.
Exactly. Only research.
Right, exactly.
Don't look in my freezer in the basement. So I just did a search, and then from that page I kind of pulled and I will say I started it going, this is a terrible idea. This is going to be so dumb. But hey, that means I want to do it. I want to try this.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I couldn't really see, but I said the same thing about pantomime. Like, how are you going to get a poem when you're just like taking the same lines and repeating them? And I love how those turn out.
I do too. Very musical.
I approached it with enthusiasm, and I love flarfing. This is an awesome, because it, So anyways, I'm
looking forward to it. Good.
Yeah. All right, and the search term that I used is, what is a human?
Okay.
So, and of course, I stuck with my little sparse linked haiku thing.
Okay.
So, what is a human? Flarp. Homo sapiens, a culture-bearing primate, the genus Homo. Noun, a human being. Adjective, relating to persons. Of people, the most abundant, widespread species of primates. Human means someone related to or associated with a humanity, and a superior characteristic having vertical foreheads. A bipedal with ability to use words and make decisions. It's a question all priests, poets, politicians, and toddlers have asked. What is a human? Humans may dislike robots, archaic species. So, I love this. All of that is actually on that page. Like, the very end of it is this whole thing about how humans may dislike robots. And I'm like, what? This is like gold.
That's great. Oh, that was very poetic. Very well done.
So I will say I love flarping, Amy. Thank you for suggesting that.
Oh, and thank you, Edward Hirsch. And it brings to mind one little thing. Once I was looking in my Amazon, I was going to search for something on Amazon years ago. My son, I think, was 9 years old, and he didn't have his own device at that time. So he had gotten into mine, I thought, and I was like, searching Amazon, the search history comes up, human baby. I was like, Clyde, did you search for human baby in Amazon? And he's like, yeah, I just wanted to know if you could buy a human baby on Amazon. Because I think he was going, you can buy anything on Amazon. And he's like, human baby. I was probably complaining about not having enough babies.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if we can get mom one of those on Amazon.
I'll buy one.
Yeah, I know. It's scary. It was sort of a disturbing moment. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, that's funny. Those are my favorite moments, though. Those are such my favorite moments.
Yeah. They're creative moments for real.
Yeah.
Oh, Flarp. Thank you, Flarp.
Yes, Flarp is fun. I'm going to do more Flarp. I could totally see that just being like, apparently there's books of Flarp.
Oh, yeah, I bet there are.
Yeah, so I was
I think people are the tech, bowled over
Yeah.
by this new poetic possibility. So
yeah, and me
like
and Google. Oh, and if you're taking the Google things, I found this out and I thought this was super cool. If you're taking the search, and you've got all your little search engine sentences, and what I did was I just pasted them all and then I kind of picked out what I wanted. That's called Google sculpting.
Ooh. Artistic. I'm in. Oh gosh, I love that approach. That's such a cool approach.
Yeah.
I was working on the thing I was going to work on during my poetry week, but then of course it's like I was playing the weeks ahead and then something else entirely came along, because I was trying to figure out the opposite of poetry, the opposite of poet, because you had told me about somebody who had a technique. If you want to shake up your poetry, or if you're in a rut, find a poem or one of your own poems and substitute a bunch of opposite words, like the opposite.
Yeah.
So I was
that was Linda Addison.
Yeah, yes. And I was waiting in the waiting room at my husband's chiropractor and chose a poem I had written the week before, and the freaking second word was, I think, poetry or poet, and I was like, oh crap. It was like it's not like black, white, red, there's, I don't know what's the opposite of red, blue, or like, dark, white, day, night, whatever. It wasn't like that. Nothing sprung to mind. And so I thought, I'm going to do a whole project on this. And I didn't want to Google it because I wanted to see what I thought of first. But I think that could be a really fun one to Flarp, I think.
Yeah, that could be.
That's a thought. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that. And probably like this shows who I am, my interior anti-establishment self. You said poet, and I immediately thought politician.
And so because you had texted me that when I mentioned it, and I was like, crap, I never thought of that, because that's how little I think of politicians and politics. I mean, that's how infrequently my mind goes there. And it felt like, okay, case closed. I thought of I was like, all these things go through my mind, like factory. No, because I love to watch the factories make candy. There's poetry in that, it's not all goofy and hippy dippy. Hello. And so, I was like, then Angela says, well, the politician. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's done. That's why I abandoned the project. No, just kidding. But I mean, that's damn good answer.
Now that's why I think it's like, why I love us getting together, because we have really like almost polar opposite viewpoints, but also very the same in where it matters, kind of thing.
A lot of the same sensibilities, and yet you focus a lot on news and stuff, and I'm like, well, I had to stop doing that when my kid had anxiety. Also, I found the freedom from all the people in college telling you that you were just an irresponsible citizen if you weren't watching the news and reading Newsweek, and I believed everything that college people told me back then, and now I'm like, whatever, you do not have to live your life chained to the news, but for you it's like something that you do and incorporate into your life. And so that's good perspective for me, because I definitely ignore it a lot. Not and that makes me sound like
me, the newspapers, like working for that, because you always had to be aware of what's going on,
to be relevant.
A lot of it honestly is science news. Like I'm looking through my news thing, science news, science fiction news, European countries. Of course, right now it's like COVID. I get a ton of art news, which I love.
I do
especially too. Banksy stuff. I'm obsessed with him right now. I mean,
he's fascinating.
Anybody wants to send me a Banksy? Hey, Banksy.
Yeah.
If you want to send a Banksy.
Fans. Yeah.
I'll share it with Amy for sure. You can paint it on
I just live over the way. I can come view it anytime.
I know. Yeah, if it's a carryable thing, we'll like house it. Can go from house to house.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this, let this go viral. We would love Banksy to gift us a Banksy. Anything. A paperclip.
Yeah. Our Banksy paperclip. Oh, I need the Banksy paperclip because I'm in need of inspiration. Blah blah blah. All that will take place. So, seriously.
So, all right, there's my advertisement for us to get free art.
Yeah, send it in care of the North Independence Library in Independence, Missouri. We'll just go retrieve it there. We used to work there, so
they know us so well.
We were gems to work with.
I think that we're well missed.
I think so. I feel bad because I keep picking things up at Blue Springs North as it's right over there. And they're like, we'll see you again. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll send my holds here. That's
okay. Well, because I live on that block, I see them all the time. So I have a home to pick up today.
I'll have to like make a point of it. I'll just have to because it was a good place to work. It just,
well,
life.
One day COVID will end. I have this. I'm just going to say it. It will end, and we will have lunch dates in the square, and we will walk to the library and go gossip, and we will do things, and we'll have to wear lipstick probably because that's the thing with no mask. And
that's right.
We'll breathe each other's air. It's going to be so wild and crazy.
It's going to be weird. I think it's going to take a lot of getting used to, but it'll be a good thing once that day comes. So I'll put on my tiara.
Santa Caligandes, I guess, is coming, and it's
now. It's now. They did the parking of the cars last night. Yeah. And so it's like from Friday through Labor Day. And that's the thing. It's like we used to go all the time when I was a kid. I was telling Gina on Instagram, because I took pictures of it when I took a walk the other morning. And the reason I didn't swing by is I dropped my son off at 7 a.m. And then I go walk and I'm like, Angela's not up yet. If you're ever up, we'll just have coffee. But
I am not up at that time usually.
I haven't been in years, but it's like to think about it with COVID kind of makes me like, because it is outside, but it's also in the past been it's like, it's nuts. It's just,
now they're announcing, Delta's like less, it's more invasive. Even outside, you're not safe. And I'm like, oh my gosh, come on, guys. Yeah, so one day. I get a feeling it's gonna end pretty fast. I think we're just gonna like England did. I think the UK buzzed through that. They thought, oh my gosh, it's mounting, it's crazy, and then it just kind of started going away.
Cool. Angela has good intuition on these things. I trust it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I don't know how much is hope or intuition, but
yeah. Hey, hope can't hurt.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna be happy until I get to that disappointment.
Yeah, that's right. You don't waste the energy. It's like Mark Twain has some quote about, I've had some terrible times in my life, and some of them even happened, because like worry, some of them actually happened. But so why make more? Exactly. Well, let's start our drawing of interview questions.
I was gonna say that. Who wants to go first? Do you want to be an asker or an askie?
How about you ask me first?
Okay. I have my magic. Look at this box. I'm so fancy. I've wondered all my life what to do with this box.
Secret book box.
It has its purpose.
Perfect.
So I'm randomly picking one. It's going to be a crazy one. I'm going to ask her the philosophy of the meaning of life.
Oh my goodness. That one I was thinking about last night kind of was. Okay, let's see.
This is actually one of yours, so I'm asking you your question. If you could have breakfast with any person, living or dead, who would it be and what would you eat? And why?
And why? Why did I put that and why in there? Then I have to be so honest.
It could just be because why not? It's Nick Cage.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, that could be it. Okay, well, I will preface it by saying I am trying to gather people, yourself included, I mentioned it, to start a poetry project it was originally going to be called Unattainables, but then like art wraiths came to me in the sense that you can't put your hands on it. And
did you say art wraith?
Wraiths, yeah, wraiths. Like
I love that.
Spirits. And so the deal is, I have a backlog of poems about obsession with like people, like musicians and stuff like that. And I was spurred to make it into a project when somebody we know on Instagram who has contributed poetry was like posting pictures of some musician they were obsessed with and was like, oh, it hurts to know it can never be, and I was like, oh my God, there's so many poems about that. Write a poem about it. We'll make a collection. And of course, it's gonna be like normal where nobody, like everyone's like, yeah, okay. And then like when I tried to start the mom rock band back in Columbia, everybody was like, yeah. And then I was the only one who was really into it. But so it might just be my book. And then what was going to be like this collection of poems about obsessions, a lot of people legitimizing my weirdness, it's just going to be me. So I might as well get it over with.
I'll be with you.
Oh, good. Okay, be us too. Because I have like 12 poems so far. Anyway, it's gonna have at this moment in time, it's gonna have to be Blix of Argyle, Divine Sturgeon and Oidbound. There is just like He is like not only this weird combination of, is he gorgeous or is he ugly? I can't tell. Let's just keep looking until we figure it out. But I find him very inspiring because he's fearless, but he's also one of those bizarrely artistic people. I mean, there's a lot of them. It's like David Bowie in a sense, where you're like, where did all that come from? You know, it's like, you know, they just, whoa, you know, and I think we all have artistic moments and creative moments where we're like, as Bob Dylan would say, well, Ghost wrote that, not me, you know, but I don't know. I find him charming and beautiful. And I think to hang out at breakfast with him, what would we eat? Well, French toast. That's like my breakfast obsession. And I might regret answering that because now if I get your haunted house question, I'm going to be like, oh crap, who am I going to say now? Because he might be better in a haunted house. Didn't mean to spoil it. So I'll think of Art Garfunkel for the haunted house. I don't know.
Oh, I like him. He would be fun in a haunted house.
He's very comforting. I think his music would soothe. Okay, not to answer it all too soon, but I would say inspiring person, breakfast, discussion of art and music, and or maybe not, just like, hey, so like when you were in Germany, what cigarettes did you like when you smoke, you know, things like that. So that's just my answer.
You always eat your French toast like that?
Yeah. Do you always put your cigarette out in your French toast? Oh, I don't think it would have to be an earlier version of him. I don't think he smokes anymore, but yes, I do. And then I eat it. Yeah. I'm sorry.
That spices my food.
He's like 60 something and he still has the German accent. And I'm like, applause. Just keep talking. Keep speaking in whatever language you want to. So yeah, the end. There's
read your grocery list. I don't care.
That's right. He recently did a project where he did. There was an airport in Berlin that's closing, and so to end it, because this is so Berlin. This is where I get just insanely jealous of artistic communities. Everything in Berlin is freaking art, you know, and so. Closing an airport. Let's do a big art thing there. And one of the things they did was last flight announcements and bizarre announcements. And he read them because he's got an insanely attractive voice. And he just read these like these, you know, flight announcements in German. And it's just like, oh. And so, yeah, I think he released an album where he was tasting wine and people are like, there's somebody did a meme about it and we're like, oh, whatever. Like, I'm going to buy that. Damn it, Blixa. And they're taking their money out of their wallet. You can't help it. So, on that humiliating note, I will find a question to ask.
Oh, that's hilarious. I love that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Ooh, this one's from me to you. Name 3 dream lives you would choose besides the one you're living now. Like, what you would, occupations or whatever. Places to live.
I remember being worried about this question. Hope I don't get that one. Because I really like where I am, you know.
That's a good answer.
But and don't judge me, people. Don't judge me. No judge me here, because we're talking about theoretical and dream. I have always wanted to be a mortician. Just because I think it would be like super cool, you know, and like I don't know why it seems like an interesting thing to put makeup on dead bodies and, you know, do things with dead bodies, which really comes out wrong. But yeah, mortician would be one. And I could always wear black as a professional color. And another one, don't judge me because I really don't want to actually kill people, but I think it would be neat to be like an assistant to a serial killer or maybe a psychiatrist. To talk, you know, to get that, like the insight. What were you thinking? Like, why do you want to do that? Like, you know, because I have no desire to do that, but I would like to be in the room with Dexter. You know, it would probably be horrifying, and I would be super upset and be like, you know, stop! You can't do that. You know, and I'd be fired or killed, probably more likely.
I think fired. Yeah.
Termination takes on a whole nother meaning. Right. And then probably like a forensics expert. I've always wanted to do that, to like see firsthand, you know, going back to those weird Google searches, you know, what does happen to a head when it falls 3 stories, you know, and I've never done any of these things. I am going to go to the body farm though at some point when COVID ends. That's like my goal. And I will probably be utterly horrified and, you know, have maybe nightmares or something, but I just want to see.
Yeah. Yeah, just curiosity. You remember Justin from the library? He shelved he and I shelved. He was studying to be a mortician. So I don't know if COVID shut that down, but I don't think so. I think he was pretty good. So there's a really cool YouTube channel. Have you seen Ask a Mortician? So check that out.
That girl, I love that.
Caitlin Doty. Yeah, she wrote a book called Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs, which was questions from children about death. And so she's very death positive. The good death is like a Instagram. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a different way of thinking about death. And I think that I think that's kind of a shift is needed. The whole 20th century shift into removal from death. People just fear it. And,
and it is just a process. But that's the thing is we fear birth. I'm sure that's why babies come out screaming. That's probably terrifying. And yet we're happy to get here, so it's that's the way I think of it. It's another birth,
Yeah.
Am I excited to go? No. I mean, I'm happy right here, right now. I am in the quest for immortality, but it will be interesting as well.
I feel like I've mentioned it in the discussion with you before, but I keep going back to that scene in an episode of Adventure Time where it's not just a rainy day, so they can't adventure. It's raining daggers, and so they can't go outside, and they build a big pillow fort, and it's like that episode of Star Trek where he lives a life in a blah 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 to carry on the culture. Finn lives this whole pillow fort life, becomes an old man, and dies. And when he dies, you guys, this is the whole takeaway. He goes, "Oh, here we go," and it's like going down a pillow type water slide. It's like that's how I'm thinking of death for the rest of my life. It's going to be to the next excellent adventure, Bill and Ted. So
to see what's coming next.
Yep. Positive.
Awesome.
All right.
Onward. I'm asking you a question now, right? Okay. In the magic box that now has a purpose other than being a dust catcher.
Yeah.
Let's see what we have.
Ooh.
What terrible and difficult life-changing question will this be?
I hope it's the one I studied for. Just
you
one.
studied? That's a cheat.
I would have been like, I'm dumb.
Right. If poetry is a superpower, how should it be used for good? And how might a villain misuse it?
That is the one I studied for. Is this using poetry for evil? Okay, because I was like, this is such a college question. I'm going to mess it up. But only because it's a deep question. It is such a deep question to me because of villains, evil, and the day and age we live in. And it's like you have to tackle what is evil. Then you have to tackle when has poetry done good and how and things like that. So kind of what I came up with was, okay, first, it's the problem of what is evil. And interestingly, there are a lot of things that we can agree on are evil, like probably cannibalism, probably serial killers, stuff like that. But at the same time, there were a lot of things in the past that were agreed upon as evil that are not agreed upon as evil now. So it's kind of fluid like language. Right. And then I have to sort of deal with the fact that I am, Christian artist. And I know that my viewpoint of life is not everybody's. And so this is scary territory for me to try. So I was like, all of it was swirling and swirling. I took notes. Let me see. What did I write down? Okay.
I love this.
Yes, I had to. I was like, oh, Lord, existential angst. So, okay. How might poetry be used for evil was roughly the question. And that's the part I tackled. I know there's a whole other part of it. Let's look at that, though. So you look at what is evil. You look at where poetry has done good. So then I just thought of this episode I heard. There's a podcast called American Hysteria. I feel like I've mentioned it before. There's an episode about the concept of cool, okay? And this was so fascinating, but at the time I was still homeschooling, and I was like, we're talking about this. An example used was beat poets. So there's some poetry right there. Now, beat poets loved jazz. Now, they were into some things that some people in culture would have considered evil, such as atheism and suicide. But that aside, okay, one thing that they did was they loved jazz. Teenagers loved beat poets because they were cool. You know, they had a cool look, they had a cool lifestyle, they were into jazz. Therefore, the teenagers discovered this jazz that the beat poets loved, and they loved it too. And this changed a generation's idea, at least in part, regarding racism. So it was like racism shrunk a little because these poets were into this kind of music, which of course led to rock and roll, which made it shrink a little bit more. And so that would be poetry doing some good. And it's like, well, how did it do that? Was it because of the whole cool factor? That is so freaking fascinating to me. So if poetry happens to carry some kind of weight of cool, it can at least influence a generation, like a younger generation. That's like when you think of like horrifying things like the Nazis. They're like, well, let's get at the kids, and then we'll change, the way people think. So that's scary. That, if they did that with poetry, which I feel like they did it with some songs and things like that in the Hitler Youth and whatever. But probably. Also, other things that are fashionable, like I think transcendentalism had like a fashionable following. Dada is a fascinating art and poetry and whatever movement, because they were just committed to anti-poetry. Poetry is anti-poetry, just like whatever you expect. No, we're gonna do something else entirely, and just taking the whole idea of art and shaking it up, and that, of course, can reach your young people who are like, oh, my parents hate this, here we go, or people who are disenchanted with war, like World War I, stuff like that, and just weird new ideas. They could use them to push some agenda that at some point in history might have been thought of as evil, and then now is not because of that. And so it's full of questions, but I think that's kind of where I landed, is that if you can grab the attention, then you can put forward your agenda, good or bad. Or in beat poetry, I think they were deliberately allied with, say, jazz musicians. They would write to jazz. They would write with a bop sort of lyrical feel. And so it's not like it wasn't a secret. It wasn't incidental, but people picked up on it. And so that changed a point of view for some people.
That's so cool. Yeah, I never knew all that.
Whoo! Yeah, I know, that was an eye opener to me. I loved it because I already liked the beat poets, and it's like, whoa! I didn't realize that
is
happened,
cool.
So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Woo!
Awesome. Yeah, I love how that turned out. I'm totally into this random questions in a box thing or a hat. I love doing this. So
it's so much fun. It was such a good idea from Angela. Okay, I'm picking randomly to ask Angela a question. All righty. Oh, here's from me to you. Do you have any experience with imposter syndrome? Please elaborate.
Oh, yes. Imposter syndrome. All the time. Daily. Pretty much. When I wake up in the morning, I have imposter syndrome. And I think we all do. I think even like when you're really successful, I mean, think of like the most successful person, like Neil Gaiman probably also has imposter syndrome, So, and I don't know why we do that. Probably because we're our worst enemies for judgment and, critiquing and stuff. Probably we're the harshest. But I just ignore it now. Like, it's going to be there. It's kind of like the news. Like, oh, we're all going to die. Okay. I read that. That's interesting. I might use that in something later, but it's not going to affect my day. I still need to have coffee, and I still need to write poetry or a book or, but also I think that the thing with imposter syndrome is, what is it going to hurt? Like, even if, and where are you fake? That's the thing, is I'm not a real poet. I'm not a real writer. Where's the mark that says you are a real artist? If you're creating something, you now are. You are that thing. So, I don't know. I guess I don't really get bothered by it anymore, but it is always there. Like usually for me, is that a stupid idea? And then the answer is usually, yeah, probably. But I'm going to try it anyways and see what happens. And,
Yeah, I think that's definitely the secret. Like, okay, I write poetry, so I'm a poet. Those are exactly the words that I told myself when I started trying to commit more time to it. It's like, you don't have to apologize for that,
And when are you... There's no set, like, well, you have to do it 40 hours a week. No, you don't. You have to do it at least yearly. No, you don't. You have to publish. Nope. None of that is true. Same with art or writing or music. It doesn't matter. If you are creating that thing, you are that thing.
Yeah. And it's part of who you are. Look at our poet friend Leroy Smith in the cemetery, Woodlawn Cemetery. Yeah. Leroy Smith, poet, and his years of birth and death. That's all his stone says. And we went looking, you went looking, and then told me we found one book of poetry by him. It's not a huge book, but that was his last identifier on earth, is what he wanted, was to be poet. Yep. So we love that. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, that was I can't wait to go back to that. Like next Halloween, that's what we got to do. Oh, wait, that's like next month.
Yeah, coming up. To see our Leroy.
It's like, bam.
Awesome. Oh, I tell you what I miss the most about homeschooling, because I homeschooled my kid from 5th to 8th grade. And then the year that he went into public school, COVID happened. But it was actually after COVID happened. I was like, I'm consciously sending you to school because he wanted to go. But the thing we would do every Halloween was called Halloween Coffee House. And we would spend parts of the month of October writing Halloween poems and finding other people's Halloween poems that we liked. And we would go to a coffee house in the morning and get like pastry and coffee. He didn't drink coffee, but whatever. And we'd made the little booklets and we would read our poems to each other. And he probably doesn't even think about that, but I'm like, that was precious moments to me. That's one of my favorite collaborations. Oh, I loved it. It was so much fun. He's a pretty good poet and he doesn't care. So he's got a nice way with words.
Yeah.
Maybe later.
Don't have the imposter syndrome.
Yeah, he's just like,
wait
whatever,
till he's old enough.
Yeah. I do it only when I have to. Well, you have to. When homeschool, I could say you have to. Now I can't.
Yeah.
So. Oh, well, we had those years. That was nice.
Yeah. I think that's why, and it's funny because I think I am not a Christian, but I think I bring up Bible like way more in conversation. Yeah. But that thing of like, be like a child, which isn't really just in the Christian philosophy and myth, it's like a lot of that, is be like a child. Yeah. I think that's that imposter syndrome thing. Like, because kids never go, is this a good idea? I'm not really drinking tea here. Like, I am such a fraud. This is not a tea party. They never do that. They're just
drinking tea.
Yeah, they're just in the moment having a blast. And I think that's who we need to be as artists, is just,
agreed.
Hey, there is no tea. I did not make anything last week, but you know what? I thought about making stuff, so.
Yeah, that's always percolating. When you make it kind of a way of your life, you can have stretches where you're just like, not today. And yet stuff is coming together whether you know it or not. It's because you're just living everyday life and it's collecting. I love it.
Yep. Be like a child, artists.
Yes.
Do you want to take a poetry break and read some poetry?
Sure. I want to know about your project that you've just are wrapping up. I don't know how wrapped up it is. Your Willows
it's project. Pretty wrapped up. I'm getting ready to do layout. So excited.
Yes.
Wow, like talk about art affecting you and poetry changing your life. It started out as a small little happy project between Geneva Flynn, I mispronounced her name, I'm sorry, Jean, Christina Singh, Lee Murray, and me. And we had just done Black Cranes with a bunch of other authors, and that got like Shirley Jackson Award, and that's been like huge. And so we were like, how can we keep this conversation going? And it's been good for all of us. Like my mom and I have bonded over it. We didn't really have a strong relationship, we'll say that. So it's been like really good. How can we keep this going? So we decided, hey, let's do poetry together. We'll each do 15 poems and we'll call it Tortured Willows. And it'll just be our voice as from where we stand. Like I'm, white and Okinawan, so that's my, and then we've got Chinese or, so wherever we stand.
Like Asian heritage is the connecting point.
Yeah, yes. Exactly. Our Asian voice and what it was like for us, or, how did we experience it? So I figured, I'm going to write some little poems about being Okinawan, yada, 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 done. Super easy. Not even really going to stress about this. And then I started researching it. and went way down the rabbit hole. I found out Okinawa, the island, is actually not called Okinawa by the people, which are indigenous, considered like an indigenous, I don't want to say tribe, but they're an indigenous people. And they're the Unchinanchu. And so to speak the language, which is actually dying because, and this is not pointing fingers at any race, but the Japanese wanted to erase that culture. And so pretty much a lot of things were made illegal. So that language is only spoken by a few people now. It's one of the endangered languages. But also that island of Okinawa, which is Ryukyu, also probably mispronouncing, is illegally annexed. It's illegally owned right now by Japan. They should not be there. They should not be owning it. After World War II, the Americans won, and so they had it. And they wanted to put all their bases on there because it's this wonderful little hub. And then they gave it to Japan. Well, you can't give stuff that's not yours. So
nope.
I'm reading all this, and I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know all this stuff. And there's these tattoos that go on the back of a hand. Oh, I actually have a picture of one.
Oh.
So I'm totally getting these because, I love tattoos anyways. But this is one of the books I just got, Okinawan Princess, and they're called Hijiki tattoos. But you can see on her hands, whoops, right there.
Yeah, no, it's hard to do that backwards.
Actually, Okinawan, because each island had its own markings. But you can see on the back of the book, this is actually written in Pidgin, which is like Creole of Hawaii, and Japanese and English. But the tattoos would mark a woman, and they were like, she added to them her whole life. Like when she had a grandchild, she might add to it, or when and they signified who she was. Let me see if I can find a really good picture of it. But anyway, so not because this could be like a whole 3 or 4 hour seminar, Angela talking about what she found out about Okinawa. That's cool. It really wound up being like a huge difference to me. There's some of the patterns of them.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's so cool. They're beautiful.
Yeah, so I totally want to get these now. And this would be, pretty sure I'm pointing to the right one.
Yeah.
This is like specifically Okinawa, like from that island. Because I found out in all of this deep research, the address that my family came from when they immigrated to Hawaii. So it's been like this huge thing. And yeah, in the process of doing all this incredible research, man, I lost myself. I got depressed. I got angry about the whole, like Hijiki tattoos. A lot of third generation and even second generation Okinawans don't even know about them because it was such a shameful thing. Women would get locked in their cabins if they had them because you didn't want people seeing that low life tattooed people, kind of, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and as somebody who has quite a few tattoos myself, that really struck home of, wow, I really want to do this. So,
yeah,
but
they're telling their story. Yeah,
exactly. So it wound up just being, and it was after the deadline when we said we would do it, and I still had only written like 1 or 2 poems because I was just reading, and I'd mark out like, oh, I want to write a poem about this. I want to write a poem about that. And all 4 of us are horror poets and authors. And so originally I was like, wow, am I going to be able to make this dark, And there's the Yuta thing, which is like the Okinawan mediums. So I was like, well, I'll talk about ghosts I saw as a kid and stuff like that.
Oh, interesting.
But just the history is pretty dark, like talking about the caves and how they had to hide in the war. Yeah. So I didn't even have to worry about the darkness. That was there.
It was there.
But, yeah, so that's I actually read. I have a poem called My Hijiki. Oh, I'm sorry, Her Hijiki. So I'll read that one. Now that I gave you the long story, but yeah, I'm super excited. We're releasing that October 7th. Cool. It's all written. I've read Jean, Christina, and Lee's poems. Absolutely brilliant. I'm just like, wow, I'm so excited for this thing to come out and to, to be like a voice, and that's kind of one of the things I was reading with the Unchinanchu is it's so hard to get that point of view out because if you speak Creole Pidgin or if you speak Japanese or, and we don't even know the stories anymore because they've been eradicated. So there's like a big movement to reclaim that culture. And one thing I do love is, and I could be wrong, so hopefully I'm not misreading this because there's a lot of misinformation too. The Unchinanchu consider it like a spiritual family. So if you have blood, it's not like a question of, well, you're pretty white, to be part of this, or you don't have enough. You're only a 16th. If you have any of that at all, that spirit resides in you. And so you're a part of that family. And that people. So I was like, yay.
It.
Yeah, I make it. I'm only 25%, but
yeah. Hey.
That's now my favorite 25%.
Yeah.
Not to diss the Scottish people, but
No. I know. I have that in Polish blood, and it resonates with me. I think it just does. So
yeah.
Super. Okay, tell the title.
Yeah. Oh,
tell the title of the collection again. Yeah.
Oh, it's Tortured Willows.
Tortured Willows. Okay, I wanted to hear one more. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to be ready for that one.
Yeah, and that's actually going to come out October 7th to celebrate Dark Poetry Day.
Ooh, October 7th, Dark Poetry Day.
Yeah, because I think it's the day that Edgar Allan Poe passed away, which is why and that was an HWA initiative to make that day. So.
I love it. Everybody, hear that?
October 7th.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, okay. I'll read this and then get off of my Unchinanchu soapbox.
Good story. Good story, though.
It has been like just wild, the things I learned. The term Yuta, I actually found out, is a terrible term. It's like how witch used to be a bad term,
Right.
But now it's been claimed. Yuta actually meant it's a longer word, like Yuriko or something like that. That's not it. And it means deceivers, because the Japanese didn't want people going to Yuta, and because the women are the spiritual leaders. It's called onorigami.
Mm-hmm.
Onarigami. And the women are the spiritual leaders. And so the Japanese didn't want people going to women to get spiritual guidance and stuff and fixes, because that takes power away from a government or whatever. So that is why some of that suppression happened, and then misunderstandings and stupid racism and, people are people,
They go and they mess things up a lot.
Yep. And continue, and that's life.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. All right.
I will read my her hajiki, which is actually my great grandmother. I have a photo of her that my mom sent me where you can see her hajiki. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And I would have never, they're grainy. It's an old photo. And so I would have never, I just thought, oh, that's like smudges or who knows. But yeah, that was actually her hajiki. So an arrow, an X, a permanent mark of pride and of her culture. Unchinanchu girls with their decorated hands, an arrow to show where she was headed, equal and independent, tattoos that she chose. A spider, a cross, a needle made of bamboo, a story on skin. They showed her power, and wherever she may go, they showed where she'd been. Hajiki tattoos on my great-grandmother's hands, marked with pride, for pride, and then banished by the men of Japan who feared onorigami. The ink may be gone, but the spirit remains strong and calls for returns.
Nice. Wow, it sounds like such an excellent project. I'm really looking forward to reading that one.
Yeah, it's kind of pivoted everything I was doing, because I was kind of like, I do dark fiction, I do these things, I write poetry, but it really drove it all to where, wow, I want to take and write the history of everything that happened, but in a real accessible way, because right now it's very hard to find information. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is so ridiculously expensive in English. I was actually trying to find stuff about Okinawa for years, couldn't find anything in English. It's all in Brazilian and Portuguese, or I should say in Portuguese, because that's where a lot of them, they went. So, but yeah. Anyways, I just looked at the time and realized I am like, woo, just going off on this huge tangent. Like I said, this could be 4 hours.
I invited it. I don't have as much to say, this week. So I knew that you had a good project that was that had been a long time in the making. You made a lot of discovery. I thought, let's talk about that, because it sounds really cool.
I will say I've never had poetry affect me that much, where it's actually like, what is the meaning of life anymore? Kind of, pivoting things. So,
yeah.
I warn you, if you start looking into that Polish history, Amy, you may be like opening up.
I know. I went to Krakow one week when I was doing a missionary summer in Hungary. This was 1996. I was going to do one more semester of college after that and be finished. And it was the most thing that was so fascinating to me was in Krakow, there's a basilica, which we didn't go in. It was just there. And we were walking around all week and stuff. These two towers in this church, and they were built by two brothers that were competitive with each other, and they were each sort of fighting to have the higher tower. And one of them died. So his brother finished the tower and then finished his own side higher, just a little bit higher. And so then there was some attack coming. I don't remember from who. There's a Newbery Award book about it called The Trumpeter of Krakow. But apparently an attack was coming. And the trumpeter who was in watch in one of the towers blew a song, hit with an arrow, and it stopped the song, partway through. So now every hour they have a trumpeter up there who reenacts it. Every part, like each of the four corners of the tower, play the song, stopping the point where the arrow hit the guy. Every hour. It was like every time, and it did, we were there for a week. We were outdoors a lot. I heard it a lot, and every time it would like just raise goosebumps. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh, wow, that's such a crazy.
Old cultures commemorate, that we're like, we're kind of new, America, and we don't have, like the European settlements and stuff. And everything's just kind of forgotten sometimes and disposable sometimes. It's just like all this ancient stuff from 500 years ago is like every hour we're going to remember this guy. I can't even imagine. That is just like,
that's awesome.
So that's all I know, but
yeah, hey, that's pretty good. That's like a whole poem or a story right there. That would be such a good little story.
Yeah.
It is a story that's already been written, but
been written by Newbery.
I might claim it.
Yeah, it's okay. I think we can always put our own spin on it. It's like anything. It's like a cover song,
Yeah, exactly.
You bring your own self to it. So yeah.
Well, do you want to read? I don't want to end without reading Lila Bertillon's poem because she sent that to me last night. But I want to hear you. Like, let's have a little more poetry. And we still have questions that we can save for next time.
Yeah, we can. This. Yeah, I took mine out so they won't recur. So good.
Yeah, that's what I did too.
Yeah. Oh, I don't have a whole lot, but it was an interesting week. I just had a question from a friend on Instagram. I don't remember. I brought it up. I can't remember what we were talking about. Oh, they had put out some poems and had print copies coming. And they said there's only 10 copies. So if you want one, because I was like, oh, yes, I'm excited. So put my name on one. And I was like, I used to do the same thing. There was this book machine in Columbia, Missouri when we lived there, and it was in the university bookstore. And I would just print up books, just like 5 or 10 copies, and just hand them around. People like a big weirdo. And I think it did weird people out. But because nobody ever told, I had one friend, my friend who actually then moved to Texas, who was like, I handed it around at Bible study. Smoke break love stories. I handed around at Bible study. And then like the next week, good old Laura comes in and she's like, I laughed. And I cried, and that's like all the positive feedback I ever got on my stuff that I handed around to all these people. And I was like such a mess at that time. You had one question about poetry saving our lives that may come up next time, and I will say that the Espresso Book Machine did that. So to make a long story short, I published one through Amazon and just sort of like released it and went on with my life. Did no publicity. No, I don't have an agent. I'm just like, I'm publishing this because I had troubles that we've all heard about. And I remember we went to St. Charles for my husband's, God, I don't even know how many years it's been since we graduated high school. I believe this was 2012, which was our 20th year reunion. And I'm like, he's like, you don't have to come if you want, because he knew I was a giant mess. And I didn't want people, I would be counting everybody's damn babies because I had one and it's a whole big thing. It was a whole big thing. I put on Poetry Saved Me. But I was like, just tell them I released a secret book of poetry on Amazon.com. And he's like, you did? It's like, yes, I am. And I told him, and I think he was like, I think she's just being weird again, and still may not know that I did it. I've never seen any money from it. People might have bought it, but I don't know. I don't know how it works. Didn't care. Don't care. 2 people bought it this week because I posted it on Instagram.
Oh my goodness.
I only know that because they told me. So I don't know. Maybe I'll just
I'm
read one out
actually
of
going to Amazon right now.
The Eye of Tony Hicks. I didn't even put my name on it. It is by the Beatnik Housewife. So if you run across anything to do with the Beatnik Housewife, that's this babe right here. So
Did you actually the Eye of Tony?
The Eye. Tony Hicks, guitarist of the Hollies, one of my sessions. I do have a poem about him in my Obsesso book. Actually, I think I put that poem about him partially on one of the typewriter prints called Beat Rondo. So I have a cake one. Why don't I read the cake poem? Because you know I like a cake poem. This is Cake and Hyperbull. I'm going to read Baker's Despair from the Eye of Tony Hicks. Glorious, apt, and comforting pistol-shooting analogy from husband upon the falling of my hot milk sponge cakes. 2 round golden layers, fucking lemons, and my consequent cussing rampage. The perfect score in pistol shooting is 1700, I think. And in 1974, the year of my birth, some man got within 24 points and no one's ever touched him. In fact, what everyone aims for is 1600, which is considered pretty damn whippy, like the 4-minute mile. So the point is, once in a while, cakes fall, the bastards. And the day before Cake Club, too. We no longer call it book club. After 5 years, we've stopped kidding ourselves. Too irresponsible to read whole, boring bestsellers. Too stubborn and tired to cross over to one another's vampire novels, fantasy tomes, and Britpop biographies. Let's just eat cake together. So, what have you got for me, Dinah Shore? Your fudge cake, an absolute cinch, and orgiastic in the mouth, but square and dowdy. And being drunk with pride and love for the gals, I wanted to treat 'em nice with a big, round, tall, and swirly American layered affair. But running out of baking powder mid-cake, dashing to Moser's grocery, batter in fridge meantime, and hot milk allowed to cool, plus peeking in the oven halfway through, wrecked my afternoon's efforts. Still, we're a mildly broken crew, and therefore appreciative of any cake that may come our way. In the end, a 2-layer, beauteous, unfallen chocolate cake with vanilla buttercream, vile temptress from the pages of Cook's illustrated pretty little volume, How to Make an American Layer Cake, 1997. There, see? True patriotism to say I adore you. And one could wax all naughty, drawing racy parallels between the American layer cake and what goes on in the bedroom. See the base layer, recumbent, submissive, tender-crumbed, and ready for love. But hey, next time. The end of the cake poem that occurs in the Eye of Tony Hicks. There's at least one. There might be more. So I had to read it because a couple of people bought it. I'm like, oh, crap. Is this going to be embarrassing?
I actually have that on its way to myself right now. Already ordered, and I shared that link in chat. So if you want Amy Zoeller's secret poetry book, which is what I called it.
It is. I don't think I put illustrations in this one. The first one I did that I did not release, I only handed it around, is called Kitchen Sink Drama. And I think there's my little boy in his Halloween costume. Wait, I have to this is the hardest thing is getting it to where it's supposed to be. There he is. He's a little vampire. Oh, cutie. He's almost 16 now. He would not like that I did that.
But we won't tell him. He's not cool enough to pay attention to us. So.
Mom, I don't care about poetry. Oh, well, hey.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. I saw that post with all your poetry books. I was like, what? Where are these? How can I have them? I have poetry books coming out the wazoo.
They are under my mattress
this week. Yeah. Where are any of these? Oh, Amy, who I've known, well, I was going to say intimately, but you know what I mean. We've had many conversations.
We've had poetry connections, but a lot of them are hot trash, and I'm just willing to say that. Gina was so funny because I was like, I can't retype them all. We always have these old computers. That was like 3 computers ago. I don't know. And Dina's like, can't Xerox them? I was like, God bless her for using the term Xerox. I love 20th century terminology. But I guess I could, but it's hot ash girl. But then she realized she could get this one, so she did.
I also have that one now, so we can compare it. I will bring it up next Cake and Hyperbull.
Remind folks if she doesn't, right? If she forgets.
Oh, no, I'm not going to forget. That's going to come in. I actually started a little feature on my blog on Fridays where I talk about all the books. I get so many books in the mail. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to show them off. Like, here are all of them. Or, not necessarily books in the mail, but books I bought on Kindle or books that I've checked out from the library. A lot of books come in this house. Yeah, so I was like, I'll just start sharing them every week because they're usually people I know or friends or, I want to promote them. So yes, that book will be appearing when it comes in and much to do will be made.
Oh, I fear that, like, if I, want to release further poetry, that people are like, I read the Tony Hicks. Look, kids, that was 9 years ago. Okay. I hope to think that I have bloomed and grown since then. So it definitely saved me from myself.
What's crazy about that is going back to us being our worst critics. I know it's going to be awesome because I know you and I hear your work and everything. And it's coming from a true place. I'm fully expecting awesomeness. But
there'll be emotion.
We don't like this stuff. The poetry book that I came out with, I don't even remember. But anyways, it was like the same thing. I put it out. I didn't say a word. Nobody's even going to know. Just it happened. I had to have some place to store all this stuff. So I put it out in a book. Published it on Amazon. And then people read it and I still have people mention it. And I'm always blown away. Like, really? That's such crappy poetry.
That's awesome. I think it's a matter of I wrote that when I was 37, I think. And it's like, I think at that point in your life, the people that don't always see you that way. Because I didn't have a late start at writing poetry. I had a late start at sharing poetry. And then I didn't share it again for another period of time. But it's like people don't see you that way, so they don't really accept it. They're like, but I know you, so you're not that. And and so that's
really
like
crazy people.
It's part of what you have to overcome is the fact that those near and dear to you are going to think it's kind of like not actually who you are. And that's all right, That's why I've always liked sharing with people I don't know.
I think that's called the Jesus of Nazareth theory or something like that, because it's like, from your own hometown, you can't be a prophet or whatever.
We know you.
You.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I remember when you fell off the bridge, kind of thing.
Exactly. I remember when you got in trouble for like hanging out at the chapel when you weren't supposed to.
Ran away from home. Your mom was pissed.
She was so mad. You're gonna tan your hide. Yep, exactly. So yeah.
I'm going to read Lily Bertillon's because she sent this to me very kindly, and I did not answer her for many, probably weeks, because FYI, I don't really check my Instagram messages, nor my Twitter messages, or often even my Facebook messages. If you ever want to contact me, you probably have my email, or go to my blog. There's a nice little contact form which goes to my email. I check my email. That's what I check. So,
that's right. I hear you.
Yeah, but I do try to get to the other. So this is hers, and I appreciate her sending this. And I actually have some links that I'll drop in chat after I do that. And then if you want to finish us up on a poem, I would like to hear another one from this book that I just ordered.
Oh boy. Okay.
All right, and I am trying to be a better, more organized showman type person. So I am going to put her up in the background and put us here. So you can you can't read the whole thing, but you can kind of see this is her Instagram, how she posted this on Instagram. So, and it doesn't have a title, but it is by Lila Bertillon.
Okay.
And then I will share links while you're reading your poem. I had to get used to sleep all over again. After 6 years of being 6 hours away, not within my body, but with you, nourished only by the wine of hope that one day I can drag that body through to you. You, beyond a cold, wide, salty fence. You, beyond a flat screen. You, beyond fiberglass and tears. And when you were no longer there, I realized it was never about you. After all, I'm only in love with your country. I think I saw her in your eyes, like a circus mirror's distorted, yet still true. A bastard's eye view of a young woman of barely 3 centuries in half mourning, with a smile as fresh as the morning dew. I can't believe I mistook her for you. So, and I actually don't know what country Lila is from.
Okay.
But I loved that poem because it reminded me of dating Ryan, who, super quick backstory, my husband and I, he's Australian, I'm American, and so we dated online basically. In Second Life, we met in Lord of the Rings online. That's how we actually became friends. So that's kind of what it reminded me of. Is I total empathy with that frustration of, we may never meet, but this is the person I love. Kind of like, Bricks of Barlow.
Bricks of Barlow. Yeah.
Yes. I was like, I know I'm saying that name wrong. You can see it in my face.
Well, he thanked me for putting music. He put out lyrics so that people could mess with them, and I put music to one of them on my harp, and he said, "Hey, thanks for that." So I will carry that in my little chamber of my heart for eternity.
I don't blame you. That is more than I ever got from David Bowie. I can tell you that.
He would, if he had David Bowie is the one who would have been like, Angela, I love everything that you do, and I love your existence on it. He just is so appreciative of people.
It's
when
very
he was on
kind of you to say. I may actually do Ouija boards again just so I can.
Okay, I can't cross that line. I am so scared of letting in spirits. So, but
I will say, I did play with Ouija boards a lot because I do a lot of occult stuff and ghost hunting and stuff. And I just shared the links to Lila's Instagram and her Etsy shop. So that's in chat right now. And you can find her on Instagram as That Liberty Bitch.
Oh, okay. I'm writing that down. That's a great name for Instagram.
And I will, speaking of Instagram, share Hypness and Outrage's Etsy shop, where you can find many good things. Oh, which look, you can see it right there.
Let's feature for this.
I just got.
There is a collection I will one day have enough poetry to release, but I'm not even close, called Beatnik Werewolf. So let's feature from the Etsy shop my teen wolf portrait and embroidery. So that is hot right now, kids, because I said so. Get your hands on that. I love that one. Sometimes I'll make one and I'm like, okay, this is genius, people. What are you doing? I stitched it at the climbing gym while my son was in climbing. They have a climbing team. He did it for one season and it was like, this is weird. Team climbing. So it didn't make sense. But anyway, I got some embroidery done. Practice.
That's awesome. I was actually looking at your shop last night and I was checking out the Shark Week and I like how you do the little beads as bubbles. So, yes, your work is admired, ma'am.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I love Shark Week. I had my Shark Week too. That was for the video for the other thing we were talking about that's coming up where I had it, but I made a different style tiara for that. So we'll talk about that soon. So, yeah. Oh, shoot. This has been good times.
It is your turn to read.
Oh, okay. Let's
swap us back. And then I reckon we're probably done, unless you can think of, I don't want to keep everybody here too much longer.
Exactly. Yeah, we can wrap it up. This one was called A Little Forethought for Change. Damn. I want to be one of those little old ladies who smile, unable to help it, and not from any sense of American or matronly obligation, at the sight of young children clutching at their mothers, putting into them, wailing in public when it's all too much, and nap time is overdue, smacking their little siblings and generally being shrill. I want to be that smiling type of lady, all sage and reassuring and lightly perfumed with flowery talc and dispensing comfort and tales of experience. Oh, that'll work itself out. My little Zelda was just the same. I don't wish to be one of those deeply frowned old bats, still shaking her fist at God 30 or 40 years down the road just because my little lad will never have a brother or sister, no Zelda or Link to his Clyde. And I do find it rather mocking, in my current state, that those names I long favored have emerged as characters in a rapidly popular video game. Bitter. My one woman band at that time was called Bitter Hag, alternately Bitter Cow. I went back and forth. So that tells you what you need to know about the Eye of Tony Hicks. There is also some fawning over pop stars, so there's something for everyone.
Hilarious. See, Ryan loves Zelda.
So does my husband and my child. Yeah.
That is hilarious.
I know. I was like, for years, I was like, Link and Zelda. I had a cat named Zelda. I had a picture of her up at the library. I was touring this group of 6th grade children, and they saw it and had her name on it. And they were like, Zelda, like in Link. I'm like, what are you talking about? They had to school my 23-year-old butt, So. Oh, my. And Hyperbull. Poetry has arrived.
Yeah, for some reason now, that even though that song sticks in my head, I was trying to think of the next line.
Poetry is on the way.
The way. That's it.
Poetry kettle is whistling.
Hey.
I mean, sometimes you get a bolt from the blue, kids. That's the muse right there, just going, hey, Amy, poetry kettle is whistling, yay.
I love that. Yeah, I love that whole song. I'm actually going to close us out on that so we can hear it again, because that is an awesome song.
I appreciate it.
Next Saturday, first Saturday of the month, we're doing this all over again.
Yes.
Oh, and if Pete is listening, I don't know if he caught in the beginning, that file was too big, Pete, so I could not play that video, but I'm going to work on it to squash it down and do, I say I, but I mean my husband, squash it down and do magic video technology things, and I will upload it to play later. So... which could be later this month, because I decided, since we do this every Saturday, I'm going to come on every Saturday and just do like a quick little half-hour literary lunch hour kind of thing, and just share the books that I got that week, and whatever, share that video or whatever. But
I need to tune into that.
Cake and Hyperbull. But just to do something, and we're still here in this pandemic.
We are, and people love books and book recommendations. I do.
They do. And my thing is, I get so many, and I don't work at the library anymore, so I can't tell anybody.
Those people at the library do appreciate talking books, so that was good times.
So that's how I'm going to be doing it, which anytime you want to come on, it's the same thing as this. Just
I'll hop in.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thank you all for watching and listening.
Yep, another month of Cake and Hyperbull. Next month will be 14 months of doing this straight.
Yeah. I'm going with the spooky theme for it'll be my answer to Halloween Coffee House, even though it's early in the month. It
is going to be Halloween. Oh, and do you want to pick a form for us out of your magic?
Let's see here. Okay, let's see. Oh my goodness, I should be prepared for this next time. So this might be random. Let's see. I'm going to the C's because there's all kind of things like a little song in the madrigal style. Okay, let's go with canzonette, which is CANZONET, or canzonetta. Italian, a little song. Thomas Morley adopted the name for canzonettes or little songs in the madrigal style, 1593. The term was used in the Renaissance for short and light song-like poems, as in Michael Drayton's To His Coy Love, a Canzonet, 1619, which concludes, and it gives the conclusion of it, so there's examples given. I'm going to mark the spot with my picture. I did a watercolor of Stu Sutcliffe and put it on a mug and then gave it away to somebody as a giveaway. So I'm going to mark the page with my picture of it. So canzonet. Tune in.
All right, canzonet will be what we write next month.
Yeah.
For whatever you said about Halloween coffee shop.
Halloween coffee house.
Coffee
we
house.
Read each other poetry. Yeah.
And it has to have my barrette is full of questions in there somewhere.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this.
So I love these. This is so much fun. Even if nobody is ever watching, I don't know if, people. Know people are out there because I see comments and stuff. But thank you guys for humoring us. We love doing this. We'll be doing it again next Saturday.
We will. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Goodbye, Amy. I will see you next month, but probably sooner.
Yeah, I'll probably jump in. Yeah. All right. And we live in the same town. Bye.
Yeah, exactly. Bye, everybody.
Cake and hyperbole, poetry is on the way. Cake and hyperbole, the poetry kettle is whistling, yay. Cake and hyperbole, poetry and life and death and discussion. Sometimes hyperbole, sometimes hyperbole.